Thank you. Thanks for all your preparation and being here. I know this is not what you wanted to be able to do today. There's lots of other things you'd like to be able to do outside on a beautiful day like that than be in here with us. But we've got a lot of things to be able to deal with in the days ahead on this. Ms. Archuleta, let me clarify a couple of things with you. You made the statement about the first intrusion, second intrusion, and the 4.2 is from the first intrusion. So just to clarify, none of the letters that have gone out have been connected to the breach dealing with the background securities. So the letters that went out, all of them are related to the first breach. None of those letters were related to the second.
That's correct, sir.
Okay. You and I had an interaction just a couple of days ago, and we were talking about the development of the plan. At that time, by the way, I'd mentioned to you, we'd sent you a letter from the subcommittee that I chair on this committee, and your staff has been very prompt to be able to get back to us on that. I appreciate that, to be able to get back on those details. One of the questions I'd asked about was the cybersecurity plan development. And you mentioned your CIO and your CTO had led the effort to put this together. But one thing I'm going to need clarification on, among several, and we'll reply back to you formally on this, is the contractor that was the advisor, or was there an outside advisor to the CIO and CTO when they were putting the cyber plan, or did they completely put that plan together in-house?
No, our plan was developed in-house. The IT security plan was, the IT implementation plan was built in-house.
Okay. Also, in our interaction from a couple of days ago, I'd asked about the statement that's been made about authorizing systems. There are 47 total systems that are out there. That there were 11 systems that were reported not authorized. At that point, you said no, 10 of those have been authorized. There's one of them that's an outside contractor that hasn't. From the IG's testimony today, I noticed the statement. In April, the CIO issued a memorandum that granted an extension of the previous authorizations for all systems whose authorization had already expired, and for those scheduled to expire through September 2016. Should this memorandum on authorizations continue, the agency will have up to 23 systems that have not been subject to a thorough security controls assessment. The justification for this action was that OPM is in the process of modernizing its IT infrastructure, and once this modernization is complete, all systems would have to receive new authorizations anyway. While we support the CIO's effort to modernize its system, this action to extend authorizations is contrary to OMB guidance, which specifically states that an extended or interim authorization is not valid. Consequently, these systems are still operating without a current authorization, as they have not been subject to the complete security assessment process that the authorization memorandum is intended to represent. OMB does not require authorizations every 3 years if the agency has a mature continuing monitoring program in place. Our audit work has found that they do not. So the question is, the authorizations that are in place, are they done by fiat, basically of the agency saying we're working on this, or are they actually gone through the actual authorization process?
We've worked very closely with OMB, and they're aware of the process that we're using on these authorizations, and that understanding where we are in the process of moving towards new systems. So we have complete concurrence with OMB on these authorizations. So we are in compliance, and we're working on the final one that we noted as rapidly as possible.
So the question there on compliance is OMB has changed what their typical ruling is.
There are circumstances that allow us, because of the situation that we're in terms of migrating and because of the legacy of our systems, yes.
Okay. Mr. McFarland, any comments on that at all? Or?
Well, it's not, excuse me, it's not my understanding. My understanding is that what you just said, Senator, about the continuous monitoring, if it's mature, OPM does not have a mature continuous monitoring. Now, if OMB has made an exception, we haven't been notified of that.
Okay. The very rapid path that you had to take to deal with credit monitoring, to be able to notify and provide credit monitoring for 4 million people at this point, had to come together very quickly. My understanding of the contracting on that, you put out on a Thursday, gave 2 days, and said anyone who wants to bid on this needs to have it finished by Saturday, and to be able to get the bid in, and then you let that out immediately the next week on that. Is that the contractor that was involved, is that someone that OPM has used before or is familiar with, or how did this process come together that quickly? Because that's somebody obviously pulling that together extremely fast.
The contracting office does actually perform that function, and
Is the microphone on? I'm sorry, right there.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. The contracting office actually does handle that process, and on May 28th, they posted the RFQ and they closed on May 30th, and they did receive several responses. We worked first with the GSA list, and we found that there were not vendors on that list that met the requirements that we needed, and that's why we moved rapidly. We wanted to be sure that we were able to notify individuals very, very quickly, and that's why we used a very rapid turnaround. We also find that the companies that were the types of services we were looking for, those companies are used to that type of timeline, and so that's why we were able to get the 3 responses that we did.
I don't know what kind of feedback that you have had so far on this, and this is just one of those rolling, once things get hard, they just continue to get harder for a while. But the contractor in question that's handled this has dealt with numerous website crashes from obviously 4 million people hitting their site and has not been able to sustain it. Even some of my own staff that have received the letter can't seem to get on their website and to be able to get going on the credit monitoring. So while the contractor that was placed in this was fast in the turnaround, they don't seem to be able to sustain on the other side of it. Have you had any other input on that?
I'm very frustrated by sort of the initial steps that the contractor faced, and we are meeting with them on a daily basis to improve the services to our employees. Our employees deserve quick answers. They need to be get on a website. If they don't, they should not. If they can't get to a call center, for example, employee, they shouldn't have to wait on the phone, and that's why we instituted a service similar to SSA where they're callbacks. We think it has worked better. But we have learned a lot from this, and are noting very carefully as we look at the next notifications, what areas we need to improve upon.
The questions will be, every agency head across the entire federal family is going to want your notes from the past month, because the best thing that we can do is to be able to get our technology up to speed so that we have fewer instances like this, but also have preparation for when something actually occurs. So hopefully you'll be able to share some of those very quickly written notes because there's a lot that has to be put into place to be able to help clean this up.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Senator Sass.